Welcome back to the Balance Sheet, where we talk about all things in the world of women's wrestling. I am one of your co-hosts, King Ajar,
Hey, what's up, everyone? I'm Billy.
and we have a lot to cover this week. I want to thank everybody for the feedback on last week's episode. You guys seem to really enjoy it. It was one of our best received episodes across all platforms. Continue to encourage you to hit the like button or the subscribe button on whatever platform you choose to listen to us on. It's very important. Thank you. So let's get started, sir. Right at the top, Saturday night's main event, Salt Lake City, Utah. Um, Conveniently, you never heard attendance numbers out of this Saturday night's main event because 8,000 people was in the building for a building that could hold about 17,000, and last time they were
Yep.
there, they had 12,000. So there is some ticket softness, ticket sales softness with WWE. That being said, we did have a new WWE Women's World Champion, Jade Cargill, at 2 years ago, one of the hottest free agents ever to be signed. She finally broke over the hump. She beat Tiffany in what you could consider a 5-minute squash.
Yep.
Tiffany had the third longest reign ever as a women's champion in the modern era. And a lot of people are excited that Tiffany A is not the champ anymore, and B, that Jade finally got the title. So I will hand it over to you. What are your thoughts on A, Jade being the champ? What direction do you want to see them go with Jade? And, what is next for Tiffany?
Yeah, there's a lot to unpack there. I think one of my most consistent beliefs that I think from episode one on this show, um, you can't grade a title reign until you see how they drop the belt. And I will absolve Tiffany of blame here, the performer. This is a little bit of an uninspiring way for a third longest reign ever 300-day champion to drop their belt. Ideally, you're seeing that baby face, because she is a baby face, lose in an epic struggle, or gosh, if you were gonna squash her with some heat. You know what I mean? Like like a more brutal match that really fireballs Jade, and then you take Tiffany off TV for a while. I don't know. I'm thinking through. I don't know that a 5 minute basic squash is kind of. I know that that doesn't do justice, right? There were better ways. So a little bit disappointing. The writing room really failed her from the summer on. I think we've talked about that ad nauseum. You know, she had the Trish feud, but it was basically Nia Jade, Nia Jade, Nia Jade. And finally, they turned Jade heel. Great. Um, they do the knee injury angle, so they have protected Tiffany, but to what end, right? Come back and win this title in the next, month or two. She shouldn't, certainly. Um, so they've got some work to do with Tiffany's character. You sent me a clip of her in NXT, and it just felt bigger, and she felt like she jumped off screen a little bit better than they have her right now. And I say that as a compliment to the performer. Um, I think they've written her duller. You know what I mean? It's gotten duller and duller as time has gone on. On the Jade side, I've also consistently said you have to put the belt on her. Um, it's like a sports team, basketball, football, whatever. You pay a left tackle X amount of money. They're your starting left tackle until they prove that they can't be. Um, Jade, is she going to have great matches or not? Doesn't matter as much now that she's a heel, frankly. So they got the alignment part right. Um, but they had to try the belt on her at some point. And I thought now was the time because we had gotten to kind of this stale moment. So I'd love to figure out that SmackDown roster with some women who can help her generate the most heat as a heel, either women who they're okay going in there and getting their ass kicked and the crowd cares about them, but they're just going to get stomped because that would be good for Jade as champion. And in the times where they're going to have a longer match, women who can get work out of her and help her, have really good matches. She had a very good match with Chris Statlander as the TBS champion. Um, so it's in there. I'm rooting for all these women. I always am. And so now that she's champ, it's like, how can we make the most of it? End game is she's got to lose this thing to Bianca, who we still don't know when she's coming back, which really is sad. But it's a fresh direction at least, and I, I I wish that I felt confident there was someone in the back who was going to right this title reign with some vigor and some fun. Right? Let's put some fun into this title reign. Let's have her squash some people, but I'm not feeling confident right now. How do you feel about it?
Well, I've been very candid that I actually think Jade and Tiffany oddly have good chemistry,
They
right?
do. They had that good
Which
match.
is
Yeah.
which is weird because you wouldn't think that. I would book Jade simply as I first believe she should be aligned with Kiana and Julia. I think that's what
Yep.
comes out of this story where they pulled her aside and they said, "Look, you're Jade effing Cargill. You shouldn't be losing to people like Tiffany. You need to not worry about the fans. You need to be about you." And I think Kiana should do every week, I manage. She should be the guy character that AEW had, which was she picks up a microphone and she goes, "Look, Jade is the best in the world. She is open challenge." And literally, I think she should beat women from NXT, from TNA, from Evolve, from the WWE roster every week in under, it should be like a 5 minute challenge. Like that's what it should be called. It should be if you can last 5 minutes with Jade, you get a title match.
With the story being now that she's willing to be nasty, she's
Mhm.
unbeatable, right? And she
Yep.
just crushes people. And you do that for a couple months. You have a baby face or two that people care about with some chops. Lyra Valkyria, off the top of my head, would be perfect. And she gets like a 12 to 15-minute match on a PLE, but ultimately still gets put down.
Yeah.
And the crowd, and you build that thing up where Jade seems
And
unstoppable, and
and
then Bianca is the
yeah.
one who does it. It's that's
Yeah, her music, she beats everybody and she's in the ring. She's like, "Look, I've beaten everybody. Who is there left to beat?" And then you hear, "I'm on my own against," and then the music comes and then it's like, "Oh, okay, here we go. Now we get the WrestleMania match." And I mean, somebody messaged me and they said, "What do you think of Io being the one to beat her?"
it, if Bianca's not available, Io might be the best,
If
option when they
Bianca's not available,
realign
it
stuff.
has to be Io because to me, I
Right.
think Liv is going to fight Roxanne in some kind of match, and I think that Rhea Stephanie seems to be the obvious direction, at least looking at Raw. But I mean, another option is babyface Charlotte. I mean, that some people said, "What about Charlotte?" Like, but I feel like Charlotte and Alexa have to end up as the WrestleMania match. Like they have to fight each other.
I loved the way they debuted Jade, right? With her facing off against Charlotte. Say what you want. Those are the things that Charlotte can make those face-offs feel like a big deal,
Yeah.
right? You got someone come in and they step right up to Charlotte, who always has, the most expensive looking gear on and all that in WWE, and it just looks like, okay, that's a main event match. So WWE's stubborn about that stuff. They're absolutely going to work their way to that match at some point. They just are. They get those. It's like the Ronda Charlotte thing. They weren't not going to have that match because they thought of it way back when. But um, when Rhea kind of really regained popularity on the main roster with Judgment Day, they didn't have her wrestling on Raw, these epic 10-minute, 12-minute exhibitions of her skill. They really, I wouldn't say she was squashing people, but it was a lot more what they call what aura farming, right? Just out there looking like she looks, doing the big moves, and then kind of um, just generating heat off of that. So I think that and Jade's run in AEW is a good map for how they could get the crowd to really care about someone eventually beating Jade. And
Hmm.
so congratulations to Jade Cargill, but
Yeah.
it kind of I want to go into another topic, and this was hot on Twitter. Um, I think you and I both got tagged in several posts wanting us to talk about this, and I'm going to talk about Jade, and I'm going to talk about Rhea, and we're going to go into this other topic, and I want to get your opinion. So WWE did this tease, and it's, you got dress shoes, and it's this big old thing, and it's going to be a reveal, and people are like, oh, who's back? Is Gunther back?
It
Is it
was
a new
Andrade.
signee? And
Sorry.
people thought it was Andrade back already. Like, before they teased it, you see different things, and it comes out, oh, it's an ad for WrestleMania. Well, that's already right. So we see this ad, and I actually would make an argument that this is the most out of touch ad WWE has ever run. None of these, well, one of these guys on their own is very uncool, and we've talked about that ad nauseum. And the other three, I don't think are uncool on their own. They're all still over. But the four of them together at this table with Paul and Paul was about this I think I ever saw. And I will specifically state that Rhea Ripley is cooler right now than any of these people. And Jade Cargill on a billboard is pretty damn cool. And we got this 40 plus men fighting it out over a poker table because they're going to be in Vegas. It's so like it's flop, like it's so uninteresting. And no women and no young male talent, right? You got no women, and you got all freaking Heyman and Triple H wannabe Dana White on the ad, along with CM Punk, Cody Rhodes, Roman Reigns, and the Pest. Um, Bad. What are your thoughts?
I I I tempered my expectations, when I saw the dress shoes. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
was it Gunther? And then I actually saw what it was, and I was like, ugh. So, okay, here are my thoughts. Number one, there are no, like you said, there are no young men even in the mix. So what you're telling me is you have no new stars on the rise. Even though Dom probably is hotter than everybody in that poster, I feel
Yep.
like Gunther, the way he left, people really appreciated him. I look at Braun Breaker, I look at Bronson Reed, I look at the men who are kind of doing the heavy lifting. LA Knight, like they're the one. I don't know if LA Knight's in the 40 club too, but like these are your future guys. Where is Obafemi? Where is Trick Williams? Like there's guys who have presence who could have benefited from, Triple H and Paul Heyman giving them kind of the rub, right? So if you just look at it from that lens, I thought it was just telling us that you're stale. Like you have nothing in the future. You're relying on the same five guys. Number two, they keep telling me that Rhea Ripley is a bigger, they, not us, like not us saying it, like they, Triple H,
Joe Tessitore.
CM Punk, they, Wade Barrett, they on First Take, on these ESPN platforms where they're like, I don't look at Rhea Ripley as a woman star. I just think she's the biggest star. she's the star of stars. She's blah, 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 blah. I don't see it now because what you're telling me is she isn't as big as any of these four because she didn't make the table. Now, if you had just put Rhea Ripley in this ad, just her, take every other woman, they didn't make it. It's Brock Lesnar, it's the, or as you call him, the pest. It's, Punk, Reigns, Cody, and then Rhea at the table. That's a huge message because now you've essentially told us that she's a big five, right?
Yep.
Like she's one of your big five, but you didn't do that. And like, I just think it's them being out of touch with their own fans. Like
It's so out of touch.
like you look at everybody. I know there was a huge Twitter argument discussion about right now in 2025, is Rhea Ripley more popular than the past? And I was like, I feel like she's more popular than Punk and more popular than Cody and
I
more
know their
popular than the
Netflix
past.
numbers for her are better than Brock Lesnar
So
and probably CM Punk. They
so
have to be.
so take Netflix out, and I'm still working on getting those minutes, but I had somebody look up for me the WrestlePalooza and the what was the show they just had, Crown Jewel. And Rhea's matches, not Rhea, the Stephanie Io match did better minutes than Cena Pest. And then in Crown Jewel, nothing outdrew Rhea, Io, Asuka, Kyrie in terms of people watching it. So then it gets back to what are we really doing here? Because like I see more little girls dressed up as Rhea Ripley for Halloween than I see young boys dressed up as the Pest or as Punk or as Cody. But it's like everybody goes to these YouTube numbers like, oh, well, when he came back, he got like 5 million views, and like Rhea's segment gets like 700,000, a million. And everybody looks at it like, well, see, YouTube. Well, YouTube is algorithm based, it's
Yep.
bot based, and a lot of YouTube views come from India. And a lot of India views are on Ronda Rousey, Roman Reigns, brought like people who historically have clout, but in America, maybe they're not where they used to be, but in these international markets, they still are like somewhat of a big deal because of how people search for things and etc. But let's use our common sense here. Does
Yeah.
anybody really think in 2025 that other than Roman Reigns, and I guess Cody, there's an argument to be made that any male star in either company is as big as Rhea Ripley. Like I don't
Right.
know how you can make the case. And the Reigns thing is funny because I feel like Reigns is only bigger because he disappears for 3 months.
Roman absolutely. I'm not going to say he learned it from her, but you and I had a whole episode on for a while there as Sasha Banks, as Mercedes. Her going away for a while pretty consistently actually ended up being consistently good. Absence makes the heart grow fonder. In the old days, you didn't want to disappear because you would lose your spot. I think
Mhm.
Roman Reigns learned, well, I'm never going to lose my spot. So actually, the crowd he generates hotter if I don't give them too much, too much. The weekly thing you get stale, I want to talk about something that I haven't seen. I've seen a couple snide tweets about it, but I want to go in depth on it. The wrong person having too much influence in a wrestling company can sink the whole ship. And you can't tell me, forget Triple H for a second. He's the leader, so this is his fault. You cannot tell me that Paul Heyman doesn't have a grossly outsized amount of influence that's a negative for this company right now. And hear me out. Hey, we're gonna get a Roman Reigns CM Punk Seth Rollins match. Oh, that could be cool. Holy crap. That could be really cool. Yeah, the match is gonna be they're mad about who Paul Heyman's gonna be friends with. That sucks. That's terrible. Why would we do that? It's gonna main event night one. Paul Heyman's friendship is on the line night one of WrestleMania. That's really stupid. And then you have marketing like this, and this guy makes the poster. He's a self-serving individual. It's his idea to be on the poster. It's his own idea that he should be on the poster. He's the deal maker, right? You have got Paul Heyman and not Rhea Ripley or Jade Cargill or Stephanie Vaquer or Io Sky, but you got Paul Heyman on the poster. WWE fans, if you think I'm being overly critical, I would absolutely be flaying AEW if they put out an all-in poster and Tony Khan and Don Callis were two of the main people without Mercedes and Tony Storm on the poster. Think about how you would make fun of Tony Khan if it was Tony, Don, John Moxley, Hangman Page, um, Cope, and
MJF.
Christian, MJF, right? Like that would be a bad poster. That would be a terrible poster. That's what we just got for WrestleMania. A year after the main event of night one was for Paulie's friendship. We are down the wrong path, guys. And it's we don't talk men's wrestling, but this is affecting the women too. The marketing is bad and the show's getting colder. And the women are actually doing everything they can to
The
keep the
women are
show as hot as they can.
by far, the women are the best part of WWE. It's really,
You
at this point, I don't even know how you can argue against it because,
you
like,
just said they had the top rated the top
well,
seen
let's,
match
I mean,
on
we
yeah.
could, I know we're going to talk about it here in a sec, but like, let me answer your Paul Heyman question. So clearly, Paul Heyman, he's always been seen as like this wrestling savant, this genius. Like he's just like this amazing storyteller and you know, he was the head writer on SmackDown when SmackDown was outdrawing Raw, and we know all those stories. But I think his reliance, their reliance on the Paul Heyman guy itself is outdated. Like
Yeah.
we see, here's the thing that makes no sense even about that own poster. None of those guys in that picture are Paul Heyman guys, technically. We don't know if Brock is. We know there's like some flirting on the camera, but
Right.
Roman isn't, Cody isn't, Punk isn't. So where's Braun Breaker? Because Braun Breaker is technically a Heyman guy. I think Paul Heyman, um, I think that the storyline of him being the oracle, the genius, the tribal chief, the wise man, whatever the name they give him this week is, I just think it's gotten to a point where it's too much rinse and repeat. It's just boring. Like it worked with Roman Reigns because it was Roman Reigns. And it was a
Right.
different side of Roman Reigns that we never saw before, that we've always wanted to see. And look, we can make fun of the bloodline all we want, but that storyline was amazing. Like, I'm
It
talking
was.
the Sami Zayn, the Jey Uso, the Jimmy Uso, like that. I saw the clip where, you know, Sammy goes, he's not feeling real oozy, and how Reigns laughed and the crowd popped. And when he gave Sammy his own shirt, people went nuts.
Yeah.
We don't have any type of charisma like that in this current
No,
iteration of it. And the truth is, it kind of speaks to, um, it just, in my opinion, speaks to them relying on the past, which is what they do way too often. And like last year, we all thought that Io, Bianca, and Rhea should have main evented night one, right? Like we
oh
understand
yeah.
that Cody Cena was always going to main event night two, but we really thought, especially with Cena coming off the hot heel turn, we thought, okay, the women's match has to main event. The funniest thing is the women not main eventing actually turned out to be the best thing for them because they wiped the floor with all of the men's matches. And
They did.
not a damn person could say that the men's, like I saw some people were like, you don't think the men's three-way was better than the women's? I said, I don't think it was really relatively close.
I know. You know, people being conditioned for like a grand turn or another shoe dropping in the main event is not good for wrestling overall. And that's what WWE's kind of chased all year. That's why they brought Brock back and the moment they had with CM Punk coming back and all that. But at the end of the day, main events that stand the test of time are usually very well wrestled with the right result, right? That's what people care about. The Paul thing, they're not even using, even if, okay, let's say you love Paul, they're not even using him the right way. To your point, no one on that poster is a Paul Heyman guy. If Braun was on the poster, the fans would at least have a buzz of like, oh man, Braun's gonna, it's Braun's time. You know what I mean? Braun's time is coming. Paul's gonna get him, and like that's Paul was effective being put with Roman Reigns because Roman, for as much as he was pushed, always had weird things happen in big matches, right? Where you would think he's finally going to win and he lost, and you think he's going to lose and he wins. And yeah, they're just, and the more they get involved with these Saudi shows, it more feels like they're just going to rely on playing the hits because that's kind of what the demand is in Saudi Arabia. They don't want to miss out on any of these longtime big stars, but the best show is not always written with your status quo booking. I mean, if the main event of night one and night two of WrestleMania is at that table in that picture, it's not going to be a good show. And
True.
there's no two combinations there that anyone is going to pay a lot of money to see.
I feel like night one, you know what? At this point, I don't even want to say anything because, like, I feel like I want all four of those at that table to stay away. Like, I do not want any form of the Pest and Roman Reigns wrestling at
Oh no,
WrestleMania. I
ever
didn't
again?
want any
No,
part of
we're
that.
good.
I don't want that. So yeah, here's the funny thing: we're talking about the women, and I can't remember a Raw main event as
So good.
good as what was this past Monday. And the women, and that was a sold out building. They tore the house down. The main event was, the defending champs of Charlotte and Alexa, or as we call them, Charlexa on the street,
Allies of convenience.
allies of convenience, versus Bailey and Lyra. And this was about a 15-minute tag match, but it was unbelievable. Like I was blown away by how good this match was. Alexa certainly brought her working boots too, and they had a hell of a match, man. I mean, they had me on the edge of my seat multiple times, and I just have I just have so many good things to say about it. But what did you think of this match?
Yeah, I'm really really happy with where Charlotte and Alexa have. This is the type of stuff that we pray for when we got those belts, and it's been stop start, right? Golden role models got to this level. I would say Nia and Shayna had, the belts were important when they had them. Kabuki Warriors. Um, this is probably the best ever top star pairing that didn't have kind of too much story ahead of time. That have been champs. I think Charlotte and Alexa have done a really, really great job, and the story to get there has been really, really good. Um, and this was a kind of classic match that they needed, I think, to fully start to talk about how great of a reign this has been because you do need good matches, um, and great matches. Um, what the story is getting out of the title. I didn't mention the work that Bianca and Jade and then ultimately Naomi put in with the belts was also fantastic. But where we go from here And if they can pass these titles on to another team that will be doing good work with them while also furthering the story for themselves, that would cement this as one of the greatest, if not the greatest, tag runs of all time, right? So, I think they've done really, really great work with the belt. I'm not advocating, hey, next month let's break them up. I'm saying as you have the belt, if you're not breaking up and you're not telling a story of a breakup, which they're not, we at least need great matches. So this was a
I
great match, and it furthers that going on, and it's really setting. The belts mean a lot again, which
yeah.
is important to me and makes me happy.
No, I agree. I don't think we should be, even close. I don't think they should even start the tease of a breakup until February. And
Royal Rumble's usually an easy spot to do it, right? But then you could swerve and have them work together fine in the Rumble, and
yeah, I just wonder how much of it is them themselves being, established women who have pull backstage who just like what they're doing. And they're at a point where, they kind of like can lean on each other as a tag team. Because I think the one thing that this has done is like the Charlotte Hot tag has become like must-see wrestling at this point. Like when
it
she's
has.
on the hot tag, she's on fire. And Alexa plays the, getting her, ass kicked the whole match very well. I don't know, man. This pairing just works, and obviously they were put together to eventually have them feud. But I'm kind of like, give me a reign through Mania. If they're gonna keep giving me quality matches like this, and they're just giving new women the spotlight, I'm okay with that. Like,
What about
go ahead.
what about traditional instead of a breakup? What if we actually could a women's tag team that people cared about that weren't champs, and the road to WrestleMania was is this team going to beat Charlexa? And they tell that story on the men's side a lot, but that story has rarely ever been told on the women's side. It's almost always on the women's side been even the great teams. It's like, okay, well, when are Bailey and Sasha going to break up, and when are Jade and Bianca going to break up, and like now people, when are Charlotte and Alexa going to break up? What if it's just these, women on the mid card or undercard, we get a team built and we get some story behind it, and it's just them climbing the mountaintop? That would be a fantastic story. And you have them beat Charlotte and Alexa at Mania, and without Charlotte and Alexa imploding, they just lose to someone and give them the rub. I mean, that's a pretty classic story, but we don't get that in the women's tag team division almost ever.
Yeah, that would be good. That's good. I like that. That's a new twist. That's something we don't see. Um, Even do like a tournament of these teams trying to get the title match against them towards Mania. You could,
To make it matter, right? Because
yeah, you
Charlotte and Alexa are not going to have a Mania match in the title scene. Their Mania matches are either defending these belts or against each other.
yeah.
That's those are the matches.
I don't know. It's weird because I, I almost wonder, like I said, if they themselves had a plan for this, and
They
then
look
they
like they're having a
themselves,
ball.
yeah, they themselves have having so much fun. They're like, hey, we can really kind of give the women you don't want to push in singles kind of a rub, right? Because they're in the
Mm-hmm.
ring with us. Like I mean, Bailey's fantastic and Lyra's fantastic, so it's not like I wasn't expecting this to be a good match. I just wasn't expecting it to be that good. I was blown away by how much that match had me on the edge of my seat. I didn't think Bailey and Lyra were winning, obviously, but it was sold very well, like they could have won.
Yep.
It was
Um,
stuff.
Before we move on, we got some really cool stuff to talk about on the AEW side as well. Um, Bailey is doing some really good work, as is Lyra. I see that moment right now where the Bailey fans are enjoying the work she's doing, but also kind of going, what's it leading to? And I don't know the answer. I don't think, obviously her and Lyra are not going to be the ones to take these tag belts, I don't think. Um, is she gonna eventually go full crazy and turn on Lyra? Yes. Um, I think that leads to her being a feud with Stephanie and almost slotting into that role model role that she was with Bianca and letting Stephanie cut her teeth on someone the crowd knows, cares about, and the work will be quality. That's my guess. Is that your guess?
After Nikki Bella, yes.
Yeah.
Because it clearly, I saw the interview with Stephanie and Nikki, and I saw how Nikki was just like staring a hole in her, and I was like, oh, okay, so she's definitely asked like, hey, Stephanie's kind of the franchise here, and we need her to go up against a heel that can really cut a nice promo and really like kind of dig into her. But like
I
again,
could see Bailey being like the Rumble match for
yeah,
Stephanie.
and look, we've had this conversation offline, and maybe next week we should discuss Stephanie specifically. But for how talented of a performer she is as a wrestler, I don't know if they're doing her justice in how they present and how they book her, because
Yeah.
clearly they're booking her. They want Rhea Ripley the B-side. Like they're like, okay, we got Rhea Ripley as like this heartthrob sex symbol woman. We need kind of we need another one, and we have it in Stephanie. And so what we're going to do is we're going to make sure that that's what you get out of Stephanie. And I just think with both Stephanie and Rhea, they're much more than just, super attractive women. They're hell of professional wrestlers, both of them. Like they're both great professional wrestlers who can have great classic matches. And I hope that with the Nikki Bella feud, which it seems like it's on the horizon, that they give Nikki kind of the freedom to, I guess, give Stephanie the rub that she needs with a heel champ, with a heel adversary, I meant to say. So
Yeah.
that's what I hope. And yeah, I hope Bailey is on her agenda as well. It looks like we're clearly going towards Rhea and Stephanie. But again, I feel like the hottest thing about the women's division in WWE is something around Asuka. Like I feel like Asuka is the hottest character, and that Rhea, Io, and Kyrie being attached to her are more hotter than anything with Stephanie.
I thought Stephanie Asuka was going to be the move, and it still could be. And then you just figure out where does Bailey slot because this Bailey character doesn't create more heat if she picks the good side, right? If she picks the good side, you'd say, well, what did we spend the last 6 months doing? Um, and if she picks the bad side, then she's not going to be Julia or Jade's adversary if they switch rosters. You could say if AJ lifts the belt off of Becky, there'd be a really fun AJ Bailey feud there if Bailey was crazy. So that would be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Where is AJ Lee? We're about to go milk cartons at this point because Becky's in hold mode, presumably because I know Maxine's not hold mode. Maxine, those matches have been fun, and I want to give Maxine and Becky credit for doing good work. What I mean by hold mode is I don't think WWE has the guts to have Maxine actually pin Becky. Um, and so Becky, it's like, who's she going to lose the belt to? I thought she was going to lose it to Lyra, so she's just kind of got it at this point.
I think having Maxine pin her, even if it's for a 1 week title reign, would do
Would
wonders
be
for Maxine.
it'd be so cool. I think they should do it.
It's like the when Marty Jannetty pinned Shawn Michaels for the IC title and lost it like 3 weeks later. And
Yeah,
then that's when they introduced Kevin Nash. I have no
yeah.
problem with stuff like that. Sometimes it's needed to give it a boost. So yeah, I thought WWE had a really good week for the women. On NXT, we're kind of starting to see, the Blake Monroe character, flushed out. Her versus Sol Roca, I believe, is the next match. I think
Yeah, I think
Sol's
Soul's
injury was a
actually
work.
injured, but
Oh, she is? Okay.
because they relinquished the speed belt too, you know?
Oh, well, that's the thing. I don't trust WWE now after the Seth thing, but
Yeah.
um, we had a lot happening on AEW this week. So, we'll pivot right over there. So AEW, I know you have a rant about this, so I'm gonna give you the chance to get it off. I was shocked that Jamie Hayter and Queen Abadana lost in the first round of the tag team titles. I know we're going to talk about Mercedes and Blood and Guts, but like, what was that? That shocked me.
The night it happened, I was shocked and I did have a rant. So Julia and Sky represent kind of the originals. They've been around and all that stuff. And so here's what I'm mad about. Jamie and Queen Aminata losing should have led to some sort of action and moment that led to Blood and Guts not being announced. It was announced already, but like some of the teams forming, like the brawl happens, and then Thekla comes out, and then this person comes out for the save, and it should have built on itself. And maybe in that moment, we could have got Tony to come out and help, and the teams could have been built on screen um, a little bit better than they were, because that's kind of why that booking would have made sense. But I hate it that together this team, and this is where Tony's got to be a little bit better. They put together this team that gets this really great reaction in the arena, on Twitter, in Queen Aminata and Jamie, and everyone's like, yes, absolutely. That finishing move, the way they won the match, having them lose in the first round is not great. And you know what? I think Mercedes and Athena are probably losing in the first round too. And that's another team that people are like excited about, and then you're going to end up with Sky Blue and Julia versus Willow and Harley. And I'm nothing against those four women, but I think we've gotten that match in some iterations, and that's going to be a semifinal on that side of the bracket, and it just kind of feels formulaic and not fresh.
It's so obvious to me that Chris is costing Mercedes and Athena.
Correct. Yeah.
It's so obvious, right? Because Um, on Dynamite, they did this segment which I really enjoyed, where I guess Mercedes and Chris were brawling from backstage, and Mercedes was kind of beating her up. And then when Chris got the upper hand, Athena came out and they beat up Chris together until Harley and Willow made the save. And then on Collision, you had Mercedes defending her CMLL title against Olympia, which I know I'll let you talk about it. I did watch the match just before we recorded, so it's a little fresh in my mind. I was very impressed with that match, and I was very impressed with Olympia. She's a hell of a talent. And I loved this match because it was like a different Mercedes match. Like they did some different stuff, and for what the time that they were given, it was super entertaining. The crowd was hot for it. There was, this is awesome chants. People were hooked, and I thought Chris on commentary added a lot too. Because Chris was like, she still thinks I'm scared of her or I'm intimidated by her, but this is a different Chris.
Yeah.
And, I thought that that was good. And, and it's setting the stage for, again, I thought Tony and Mercedes had a case to main event. I'm looking at this card in Newark. It's Chris's hometown. There's no reason Mercedes and Chris should not main event Full Gear.
They have to main event Full Gear. And I have talk about Blood and Guts, but if you are on the how do we make Chris and Mercedes feel like it has to main event, both of them being in the Blood and Guts match is a really, really good omen that I
Mhm.
didn't think we were going to get. Most people didn't think Mercedes would be in that match. But I thought Chris was really effective on commentary. Sometimes they throw at people out there, and a couple times early in Mercedes' run, they put her on commentary without a plan to further the story. And then they did great stuff with Tony where she's out there eating her steak and just being just so annoying. Chris on the opposite side has to carry the babyface role, and I thought it was really, really good for her character and working on that match. Olympia Mercedes was really, really good. And it
Well,
was like, I think Olympia's 11th singles match ever.
mm-hmm.
11.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I won't name names, but there was a snarky tweet online that did make me chuckle, and it said, compare Mercedes and Olympia to X men's matches that happened on TV in big spots this week. And it was a much better match than several of them. Um, Credit to Olympia, who looks like a prodigy. Um, and obviously Mercedes, being the ring general she is going to get a good match with damn near anybody. I like that they did a bunch of stuff I hadn't seen before. Olympia's got a really really cool move set, um, and I have no CMLL knows what they're doing, sending her to America. Oh, you got a spot for 12 to 15 minute match with Mercedes for one of our people. It could be anybody. That was a really really great introduction for fans here.
Like I thought that this match was better than the match she had with Rio that I saw in person, but it didn't it felt like online like people liked it, but they didn't like I guess some people did love it, but I loved this match. Like I was blown away by Olympia, to your point, 11th actual singles match. But I was blown away by Mercedes too because it's like she was doing different stuff. She was out of her comfort zone, and she usually is out of her comfort zone in all of her matches. I just thought that, okay, now I have to think, is Olympia somebody who can dethrone her down the road?
Yeah,
Like could they do something like that? So I was super impressed. It was a great match, and it was great to set up this stuff with Chris.
it was $1 million segue out of her comfort zone. Blood and guts.
Hmm.
Um, People will say out of her comfort zone because there's this idea that she doesn't want to bleed, and she's played into it and said she's a classics wrestler. But let's not forget that the best two women Cell in the Cell matches of all time, have
Hmm.
Mercedes in them. And I would say that the two of the three best elimination chamber matches for women of all time have Mercedes in them. So um, knows what
So
knows
are you
how to
talking about
bring
the tag elimination chamber? I take it.
the first one and the tag one, and then there was the really great one, the Bianca one, right? Those are probably the three best off the
The
top of my
one
head.
Bianca and Liv, right?
Yeah,
Where did she beat Liv at the end? Yeah, that to me definitely is the best, for sure. And then I would say Mercedes Bale, the tag one I loved. I thought that one, I would put that one above the one where Alexa, you're talking about the one where Alexa won.
yeah, that's probably it's the third or fourth. It's one of
Yeah.
the better ones, and for it being the first one, I think
Yeah.
uh, AEW fans, if you don't know this or you're listening to this podcast and you don't know this, Mercedes' actual superpower is producing matches. That's why her singles matches are so good. And if you look back at WWE, when she is injected into a multi women's match, it just is smoother. It always makes more sense. The chaos is more story bound and controlled and makes more sense. And um, she produced as a player the first women's Royal Rumble. She was an on the court coach for that Royal Rumble. That story's been told. That is why she was either taking finishers or laying in a corner. Uh, I, WWE was worried about that match being smooth with it being a first time, and there were a lot of green women in that match, and she basically ran crowd control on that match. So I think she's going to be a great influence on this match. I don't know if she's going to bleed, but your lineup is good guys. Chris Statlander's team with Tony, Willow, Harley, Jamie, and Queen Aminata. That is a that is a chef's kiss good guy team. Uh, Women's team: Mercedes, Megan Bain, Marina Shafir, Triangle of Madness, Julia Hart, Thekla, and Sky Blue.
Is
I
Mercedes the captain?
Marina's work. Mercedes is the captain.
Yeah, okay.
That's my one rub on this is they didn't do anything to tell the story on screen for Chris and Mercedes to be the captains um before announcing it. But have one nitpick is that if you had someone maybe one less of the triangle and Athena in there, the ceiling for this match goes up.
I
because Athena would add a high flying element that doesn't currently exist with the group that's in there. Um, and I mean, I'm not any of the women. Athena is one of the best women in the world, right? Only topped by people in WWE. She's the most comfortable off the top rope in AEW for sure. Um, so it's not a knock against who you'd take out of the match because I think of the 12, they landed 12 of the top 14 women that could be in this match. From a story ability perspective, I think we got 12 of the top 15. They did it's a really good lineup.
Yeah, I'm excited for the match. I think the women deserve the same opportunity that the men get. That's a good thing. Mercedes being in it is, I think, actually good, and I'll tell you why. If they play into this, she hates getting roughed up. She
Right.
hates the blood. She hates, the plunder. And it's almost like Mercedes should be in the match and like running away from Chris. Like the way that they should have the match set up is it's like she's just running away from her. And she gets beat up and she takes a lot of bumps, but I I'm interested to see if Mercedes goes all out in this match. Is she gonna do thumbtacks? Is she gonna do blood? Is she gonna bleed? Time will tell. Maybe she's okay with it. I mean, maybe they're gonna use fake blood and they're not actually gonna blade. Movie blood.
Yeah, not everyone knows this, and I'm going to share it because again, I don't think a performer should be pressured into bleeding if that's not their thing. Anyone, men, women, whatever. She has said before that when she got busted open in the Charlotte Roadblock match, that her brother Joshua, that was a thing that he did not enjoy, and so she's avoided doing so um, going forward. Now that wasn't even planned; that one was an accident. But uh, I think people should respect all 12 people in this match. That if she doesn't bleed, she's going to take some gnarly ass bumps. We all know that she does that in singles matches. You know what I mean? Like, um, she's gonna fold herself like an accordion on a big slam from Chris or Willow or a fall off the top rope or something. So I think it's gonna be a good match. I hope it main events and I hope it gets more time than the men because I think it's a fresher composition of outcomes. Um, Raj, if Chris wins and stands tall, does Mercedes does that up her odds of winning at Full Gear? Or does Mercedes win and stand tall, and then we just know that Chris is beating her at Full
I
Gear?
think Chris has to beat her. I agree that you could have Chris win Blood and Guts, and then that would make it murky. But no, I think it has to be the other way. I think Mercedes team should win Blood or Guts. I think Mercedes should stand tall, and the story should be that Chris just can't beat her.
Yeah,
And then she finally beats her.
yeah.
And I think that's the simple story. It's in her hometown. You mint a new star. I mean, Chris is incredible. She deserves all of the push she's getting. I don't
That's the best way it has a chance of main eventing too.
Yeah, I think Chris should lose Blood and Guts, and I think it's okay because she's not losing the title, and it keeps feeding the story that Mercedes just has her number. Like
Yep.
that makes the promo the next week even more. It's like, hey, I can beat you in a wrestling match, and I can beat you in a Blood and Guts match. You can't beat me. Like I own you. And I
It'd be
think,
great if she runs the whole match, like basically runs the whole
yeah, and
match,
then
but
just
then
wins at
gets
the
the
end.
win. Yeah. Yeah.
I just think that that's the easy story to tell. Chris is obviously not. If Chris got the belt just to lose it to Mercedes, then I have a lot more questions. Like, why didn't Tony just lose?
Yeah. These title reigns, men and women on both sides, are all very formulaic for a very long time. There could be an argument that you could say that is Mercedes. It's kind of like what I think Hangman's first title reign was pretty short. Um, what if Mercedes wins and then Chris wins it back in World's End or something like that? Like I do think the belt needs to go back and forth more often than it does in all of wrestling. Like it just doesn't. I actually remember Stone Cold beating Shawn Michaels for the belt at WrestleMania 14, and then he lost it at King of the Ring to Kane, and then he won it back like a week later or maybe a night later. Um, I don't remember anyone thinking that was bad booking. You know what I mean? Like it was fun. It kept you on your toes a little bit, if anything, right? So um yeah, I don't know. But no, I agree with you. I think so if Mercedes wins this match, then everything should go into Chris main eventing Full Gear. This is the time. Chris's hometown. I think you nailed it. Um so we got a lot of fun stuff. We got Blood and Guts. We got a world title match that could main event, and we've got the women's tag team tournament. We're going to get Willow and Harley versus Mercedes and Athena. I actually think that Chris should cost Mercedes. I think if Chris costs Mercedes and Athena, I would like to see an after the match segment where Mercedes brutalizes Harley. If they're really gonna, how are you gonna say tune in next Wednesday for Blood and Guts? Who's the
Mhm.
sacrificial lamb? I think it's Mercedes brutalizing Harley.
In theory, couldn't she brutalize Harley in the Blood and Guts match?
She could, but I'm trying to work how they're gonna sell. Tune in next week for a crazy match.
Because what I would do, I mean, like, you could do it that way. What I would do is you have Mercedes and Athena lose. They're costed the tag tournament because of Chris. And then the following week in Blood and Guts, Chris is handcuffed. Sure, Chris is handcuffed, and Mercedes is just beating up Harley. And she puts her in the statement maker, and blood is dripping down Harley's face. And, you can see the pain, and Chris is like fighting. And then when Chris gets her in full gear, obviously it's going to be a long back and forth match, but I think Chris should hit her with like 5 Saturday night specials. And then I know people are going to hate this. I think Chris should beat her the way the Ultimate Warrior beat Macho Man. I think Chris should beat her where Chris has the foot on her chest and it's one, it's two, it's three. And it's like dominant. Like it's a back and forth match. They battle, they battle, they battle. And when Chris finally has to beat her, she puts her down and puts her foot on her chest. One, two, three, and then says like that's for Harley or something like that. Like that's what I would do.
That would be good booking. Because if Mercedes does lose to Chris, they're telling us she's never winning this title as a heel, not the first time at least. If she fails against Tony and fails against Chris, you don't give a heel, oh, the third time was the charm. It's not the charm unless they've, seen the error of their ways. Um, so we've got a fun top five to talk about. Talk about Pro Wrestling Illustrated PWI. So we're going to get to that here, and we're going to make our predictions on what we think the PWI top five is going to be. It comes out on November 11th. Before that, um, as we talk WWE or AEW, we've tried to give some shine to some indie talent. Obviously, Mercedes has been out there working the indies. For those that don't know, Chris, Willow, a lot of the women in AEW work indie shows. And Maya World is certainly a favorite of the show. I think she's the top unsigned prospect out there. We've talked about her several times on the show. Um, she has wrestled Billy Starks one on one in a very good match at the Who Runs the World, the opening match of Who Runs the World, and it was very, very, very good. Who Runs the World 2, she was in a triple threat match with Chris Statlander, London Dior, and then herself. It was a really, really fun, really, really good match. She has a match against Athena that was really fun and really good. And last night she wrestled Willow Nightingale at West Coast Pro Wrestling Show in San Francisco. And shock, the match was really, really, really good. So I continue to tweet and advocate, but I don't know why Tony hasn't signed her. These matches with the AEW Women's Champion, the ROH Women's Champion, the former ROH TV Champion, and the former TBS Champion, and probably one of the top baby faces in AEW. These have all been really, really good matches that are better than some of the matches that make AEW TV, where the best wrestle. So I just continue to be a fan of Maya, and on the indie circuit, she's being put in with the heaviest hitters. Basically, she's wrestled every great wrestler she can of a big name variety, except for the Mercedes match, which Mercedes was her idol and why she got into wrestling. So that will be a great match when it happens one day. But she needs to be on AEW TV, man, or ROH. She needs to be signed. I think Tony Khan needs to get on that like immediately.
Let me ask you a question. Do you think Maya's holding out for a WWE deal?
No,
No?
nope. I think Tony Khan is lucky because I think Maya's bigger influences in her life. Now money talks. If WWE threw the bag at her, I think Athena and Mercedes would tell her to go sign with WWE
I
if
mean,
the
but
number
what
was right.
I mean, like the isn't aren't the biggest in well, okay, at the time when the now Blake Monroe went to WWE, we were all shocked because it's like, oh, Mina, oh, Tony, they're in AEW. But then when you read about it, she wanted to leave AEW in the middle of the hottest feud they had going. So it's different, right?
Yeah, I mean Athena trained Maya though, right? So again, I think Athena would tell her to sign with WWE if the contract came up, and it'd be dumb not to, right? So I'm not saying she's holding out for AEW or AEW. Um, I don't know. She usually retweets when I say, Tony, let's go ahead and get Maya signed. So I know I would think she's ready to sign, but she's really, really good, and it's rare that a uh,
Prodigy.
prodigal prodigy, a prodigal talent like that stays out there that long, and she's certainly getting exposure with the top AEW women. So she'd be a great addition to the division, and you know if Billy is going to unseat Cena someday, a Billy Starks Maya World feud in ROH would get subscribers for sure. It would, in my opinion. So. But hey, that Willow match is out there for free, people. So Willow Nightingale, Maya World on YouTube, West Coast Pro Wrestling. Check it out. Um, I don't know if the Who Runs the World matches are out there for free, but you can subscribe to MPX Wrestling for like $5 a month. They're putting on all women's shows, and you could get their Athena runs it. You can get their catalog and you'd be able to watch those matches. Very, very good up and coming wrestler. So, all right,
So,
PWI.
yeah, let's talk about PWI. I'll set the stage for you. You've done some research on this going back to 2014.
Yep.
So, why don't you kind of give, your perspective on the research you've done, how it works, why you believe this is a legitimate metric, and I think you had some other cool stuff to share.
Yeah. So, I think a lot of Mercedes fans have been chomping at the bit that hopefully her best year of her career, or one of her best years of her career, gets rewarded with the number one spot on Pro Wrestling Illustrated's PWI Top 250. The women's list is 250 people now. As far back as 2014, it was only 50 women were named on the list. But I've had other people say, well, why does it matter? Why do we care what they think? Isn't this just like Dave Meltzer's ratings? Like, we don't care what they think. No, or metric is perfect. There's going to be bias, human bias in anything. But um, for us sports fans out there, when you're looking at a Hall of Fame career, a great measurement of how good someone was over a long period of time. NBA, NFL, all pro in the NFL, all NBA in the NBA, how many times they won MVP, how many times they finished top three and top five in MVP voting. So we don't have anything like that with wrestling, but I think Pro Wrestling Illustrated is the best resource we do have that's the most unbiased. So going back to looking through all of their lists, I'll just set the stage and say pre 2020, it was biased against Japanese women. They were not rating women who were doing good work in Japan. So when I say Japanese women, it could be even an American woman wrestling in Japan. They weren't getting credit for that work. Since 2020, the list has expanded and they've done a really good job of including work that's happening outside of America here. That being said, even when they weren't including that work, they were still as unbiased as they could be. Looking back, Gail Kim was number one on the PWI 50 in TNA. Since AEW's been around, AEW's had women number one. Women from Japan have been number one since they've been included over the last 5 years. Siri and was number one, I think, in 2022. And of course, WWE has had their fair share and the lion's share of number one ratings. But I looked back and at the very least, very well thought out. I never looked through the list and was like, I can't fathom why this person was number one. That was bias. That was tribalism. The one year that most people point out in 2015, Nikki Bella was number one, Paige was number two, and Sasha Banks was number three. And most of us would say that, Sasha Banks won Wrestler of the Year in 2015 for the actual calendar year. PWI list goes from September to October. And Nikki Bella did win that year because in kayfabe, she was basically champion that whole time. So you may disagree with it, but there's generally reasons behind it. So I just tell people who listen that this is as unbiased of a list as we're going to get. Many people vote on it. Their editors, their writers, there are women. So that already we were ahead of Dave's list. This has women's representation, women's writers and journalists who help vote and make this list. So you've got more than just one or two opinions that carry a lot of weight. And then the last thing that I'll say is a woman from every single organization we care about, TNA, AEW, WWE, NJPW, Stardom, has done a cover shoot for Pro Wrestling Illustrated, where they have participated in shooting for a story and a cover shoot. So I'm not here to say it's perfect. I'm not saying subscribe to Pro Wrestling Illustrated. What I'm saying though is from the lists we get though, this is one of the most well-reasoned lists that is at least consistent how they build their list year to year, especially going back further. Might there be some cool new lists that have been happening over the last 2, 3, 4, 5 years? Maybe. But this is the oldest list that has a consistent formula how we got to the best of the best. And that's why it matters. So I've got some really interesting information about the four horsewomen plus Alexa and Asuka, because going back to 2014, those were the most consistent women that were on this list. Anything you want to add before I get to that?
I grew up reading Pro Wrestling Illustrated. I used to go to the corner store in my neighborhood and always a friend of mine, Greg, he used to have these issues, and so I know exactly how the magazine works. It was kind of like how we would know how other, like when people left either WWE or they left and NWA, how they were doing. That's how I knew about Bruiser Brody in Japan. That's how I knew about, the Freebirds going to Texas.
What Eddie was doing in Mexico?
Yeah, by that point, I don't remember. Eddie came around a little after, but I remember the one that shocked me was for the longest time, Ted DiBiase was seen as a Mid-South performer. And he was, generally speaking, he was a babyface, right? And then when I saw the vignette of the Million Dollar Man, I was like, wait, according to PWI, this guy is in Mid-South. Like, what is
Yeah,
he doing in WWE? And that's where the shock value was. But I would just say this, no, every list has its flaws. No list is perfect. And
right.
the women wanting to do the cover shoots for this magazine tell you that at least to them, it's a semi big deal because
Yep,
not only do they do the cover story, they do a podcast with Pro Wrestling Illustrated about their year.
yep. Yeah, and so
Now, can you, for the listeners, can you give us the women who have been number one since 2014?
write that down. But off the top of my, I probably have it. 2014, I don't have. 2015 was Nikki Bella. 2016 was Charlotte Flair. 2017 was Asuka. 2018 was
Rousey,
um, Rousey. Yep. 2019 was Becky Lynch. 2020 was Bailey. 2021 was
Bianca.
Bianca. 2022 was Siri. 2023 was Rhea Ripley, and 2024 was Tony Storm. And Gail Kim, I think, was 2013 or 2014. So
So again, this is another reason why, the crew, Mercedes fans wants her to get this because she has not gotten it.
that's one of the interesting stats that I have. So for anyone who doesn't know, this list is based on um, booking does matter a lot. Booking does matter. Um, Match quality matters, and having matters, right? They look at how many days of the 365 you had the belt, a belt. So all that stuff kind of goes into it. It's interesting, and you would have picked up on this when I read who's won. We have not had anyone win more. No one's been number one more than once. So since 2014, nobody
Mhm.
has been number one more than once. Now, of the four horsewomen and Asuka, Alexa, everyone's been number one except for Mercedes and except for Alexa.
Mhm.
And Alexa have never been number one. However, if you look at who was the highest ranked of those six women given year, not number one, but the best of these six, right? Who've kind of been
Mhm.
together over their careers. Um, Mercedes has been the highest ranked person twice. Bailey has been the highest ranked person twice. Charlotte Flair has been the highest ranked person. Becky Lynch has been the highest ranked person. Asuka has been the highest ranked person twice. And Alexa has been the highest ranked person once. So the four horsewomen and Asuka have all been ranked best of that group twice. So that shows you how consistently these women have grabbed the mantle from their peers and said, I had the best year this year. Mercedes has been ranked only 8 times. You have to have a match qualification to hit it. She was not ranked in 2023 or 2024. Bailey's been ranked twice. Charlotte's been ranked twice. Becky Lynch has been ranked 11 times. Alexa's been ranked 7 times. And Asuka's been ranked 8 times. Top 10 finishes. When ranked, Charlotte has 80% of the time she's ranked, she made the top 10. Second place is Mercedes. 63% of the time that Mercedes is ranked, she made the top 10. Bailey is 50%. Asuka is 50%. This shocked me. Becky Lynch has only made the top 10 36% of the time she's been ranked.
That's not shocking at all because from 2014 to 2019, she probably wasn't in the top 10 at all.
Well, here, so raw counting stats. She's made the top 10 four times.
Mhm.
Sasha and Bailey have both made it five times. Asuka's made it four. Charlotte's made it eight times to the
And
top
Alexa
10.
did it twice.
Alexa made it twice. Now, when you dial in further and go top five, that's where Becky stands out a little bit better because it's harder to make the top five. But every time she made the top 10, she did make the top five. Mercedes has made the top five 50% of the year she's been ranked. That number is going to go up. She's making the top five this year. She's the only one of these six women who will make the top five this year. Spoiler alert. Bailey's made the top five 30% of the time. Charlotte's made it 50% of the time. Becky's made it 36% of the time. Alexa 29% of the time. Her only two top 10 finishes, she finished second once and she finished third once, back to back years. And then Asuka, also, when she makes the top 10, she makes the top five. She's got a third, a first, a fifth, and a third place finish. Charlotte Flair was 10th, 6th, first, second, third, second, fourth. Since 2021, Charlotte Flair 15th, 8th, and 21st. And I don't think she won't be top 10 this year either. Nor she might not be top 20. Bailey has been remarkably consistent. 19th in 2014, 11th, 5th, 5th, 17th, 6th, 1st, 21st, and then wasn't ranked when she had the knee injury. 41st and then 7th. She got back. She was the top ranked person in this group last year with the work she did with EO. So the most interesting thing to me, though, was among these six women, call it five women. We'll take Alexa out of it. No shame to her, but if you go the four horsewomen plus Asuka, they've been trading best a given year. They've all done it twice, where they've been the best of those five people. And this year, Mercedes will take the lead as she'll be the best of that group for the third time. She finished highest of the group in 2015. She was third. And then 2021, the year she was SmackDown champion. That's the year the Bianca match would have been graded in. She was the best in the group.
And that what year? Okay, the year Bianca was number one, where did Mercedes finish?
She was sixth.
Sixth?
Yep.
Okay.
But that was the best among that group. That was a tough year for that group.
Yeah.
Bailey was 21st, Charlotte was 15th, Becky was 34th, Alexa was 77th, and Asuka, well, that was the year she missed. She wasn't ranked. So I think the fact that no one's won spot more than once, and that you have different organizations being represented at the top and in the top five consistently, at least shows that this list tries to be as unbiased as possible. There's no such thing as like, well, a WWE champion counts as twice as much as an out, you know what I mean, as a TNA champion. The world championship belts are all kind of weighted the same. So it's crazy though. On the negative side, Mercedes missed the list twice. Once because of her foot injury, and then the other time she wrestled 9 matches and she would have needed 10. Bailey missed the list because of a knee injury. Charlotte has missed the list for the first time last year because of a knee injury. Becky's never missed the list because when she had her baby, she wrestled enough matches before and enough matches when she came back to make the list both times. She was just ranked lower one of the years because of it. And then Asuka had the injury where she missed the list. And then Alexa missed the last 2 years just like Mercedes did, being out with her baby and whatnot. But she'll make the list again this year. All six women should be on the 250 this year. Except Asuka. As Asuka wrestled 10 singles matches, that would be the one I might be worried about. So for me, I think PWI is a really great synopsis of looking back on what someone's accomplished over time. Nothing's perfect. I'm going to make my own opinions without this, but I do think it's an interesting thing, kind of like with all NBAs and all pros. It's an interesting thing to chart to see how often somebody kind of um, up in booking and stature to finish top 5, top 10 on this list. So for this year, do you have your list?
Hmm. I just made a change, but listening to you talk, and I have six.
I have
So,
6 too. I bet you we have the same 6 in a different order.
yeah, I would hope. I think so, but maybe I'm missing somebody. Okay, so I'll go.
Okay.
So my number six person is Athena. My number
Okay. We have a different list. I don't have her in the top 6.
my number five is Stephanie.
Okay.
Number four is Tiffany.
Okay.
Three is Io. Two is Saya, and one is Mercedes.
That's pretty close to mine. So I have Stephanie number 6. I have Tiffany number 5. I have Tony Storm number 4. I have EO number 3, Saya number 2, and Mercedes number 1.
Okay, so Tony and Athena. I just picked because Athena still has her belt.
Yeah, Athena lost to both Mercedes and Tony during the
Mm,
um, period of
that's
time. Mercedes' one loss was to Tony, but it's kind of like I look like an NCAA football team is like you could still win the national title if one team beat you, especially if that other team lost 2 or 3 times, right? So that's kind of, Tony lost to Chris, La Catalina, Mayu, um, in singles matches during this period of time. Mercedes has the one loss. I think why Mercedes will be number one, and I think the function of making this list is going to make Mercedes number one. And hear me out. These writers do a really good job trying to make sure they get the right top 250. So as much as we care about number one, they care about number 199.
mhm.
They care about number 212. They're going to try to make sure that a woman who has put in a lot of good work on the indie scene doesn't get left off, and they just put in a WWE performer who's barely wrestled. They really look at their list the last 3 years. They've got some really really great representation in there of women who they're not just like they don't trend on Twitter. They just do good work. Like Alice Singh, who Mercedes just beat for the Body Slammers Championship in Denmark, was like 88th last year, I think. So they're going out there and they're finding these women who are working around the world and trying to rank them accordingly. When they do that, they're going to find, I think Mercedes will have wrestled 28 women who will be on this list.
Mm.
So she will have wrestled 10% or more of the list, all of them except for one. And there may be 28 women from WWE who make the list, but because of the way WWE books in repetition, EO did not wrestle 28 different women last year. Tiffany didn't wrestle 28 different women last year, not in singles matches one on one. So um, I think what they'll do is they'll build the list, and it's kind of like NCAA basketball, football. You'll be like, oh my gosh, this person has 28 wins against people who made this list, 27 wins.
Interesting. Yeah, I picked Mercedes as number one just because I feel like it's kind of the story that's being told. Like, I feel like more attention has been given to her about this, and people have made videos about it, and people have talked about it. And I feel like it's almost like it's like when the Heisman Trophy and
Yeah.
you want to get your story out about why your person in your part of the country should win the Heisman. There's the very famous one. I know you're a Michigan football guy, but there was a lot of criticism to the SEC then where they didn't promote Peyton Manning enough, and they allowed this narrative of Charles Woodson, who played both ways, to win the award. And then somebody I saw like it years later. I think it's an ESPN 30 for 30 called The Great Heisman Race of 1997. And they talked about how they built this narrative that he was like this super two-way player when he really wasn't, but he was by far the best, like he was the best defensive player. But like because they made it seem like he played on offense meaningfully, that pushed him. But defensive players don't win the Heisman, right? They just don't. Just individually defensive players, like just defensive players on their own, don't win Heisman's. So I look
And
at this. Go ahead.
he had offensive moments that they highlighted and made. One, he had a punt return for a touchdown against Ohio State. So in the biggest game of the year, he had a game-winning punt return for a touchdown. But he also caught a touchdown pass, I believe, as a wide receiver against Penn State, I want to say, one of
Mhm.
the other big games, and they just highlighted the crap out of that. And then he had this jaw-dropping interception against Michigan State where he catches it on the sidelines. The quarterback was throwing it away and he one hands the ball at the highest point and gets a foot down. And the one touchdown catch, the one interception, and the one punt return were played ad nauseum everywhere. So to
Yeah,
your
and
point, the marketing was incredible.
well, they talk about nowadays he would never win. He would have never won because it's changed so much to like an offensive award where they would have all these advanced metrics and analytics and stuff like that where they would have pretty much they would have made like they said if they did that Heisman race this year because I believe that was the year it was Peyton, Randy, Woodson,
Ryan Leaf.
Ryan Leaf, and then there's somebody else, but maybe it's just those four. They said they would have made a case Randy Moss would have finished ahead of Woodson if that was done today. Like in
Right.
2025, if it was done today. But back to my point, which is I feel like Mercedes and her fans are the only ones even campaigning for this thing. I don't see EO fans saying, "Oh, I want PWI number one," Rhea fans, Saya fans, Tony
Saya
Storm.
fans are absolutely campaigning
Well,
for it.
maybe
They're
they
just
are,
not
but
on your TL. Yeah.
maybe they're just not as big a group. But I feel like Mercedes has the story. Now, remember, a part of this is how you sell magazines. A part of this is also how you get the podcast. So like Mercedes has already proven that if you put her on the cover, her fan base will go buy the stuff.
Right.
So if you're going to look at it from a business standpoint, it's not like giving her number one is like some outlandish case anyway. So I feel like that's why she'll get number one.
Yeah, I mean, that's all fair and everything, but again, the thing that I think makes it matter is that they are consistent in their method and no one's ever won number one that doesn't fit their method. And if
Yeah.
Mercedes won number one, it would fit their method.
Yeah.
Um,
And we forget because of the duration of time, the Hazuki match and the two Chris matches count,
correct.
right? So when a lot of people talk about wrestler of the year, they're looking at a calendar 2025, and that's where I have said this to you, offline that it could all change with the Chris match, but I don't think Mercedes has any of my five favorite women's matches this year. Maybe the Jamie match. I got to go back and look at my list. But last year, I think she had my like three out of my five favorite, which is the two Chris matches and the Hazuki match. So if you include those with the Tony match, with the work on the independence, with the Jamie Hayter match, then she pretty much has a clear-cut case for number one.
The Athena match too. Having a big win over Athena again because think about it like college football. It's like ranked victories, right? So beating a ranked opponent, she was the first person to pin Athena in a singles match in over a year. The argument for Saya is a good one. She had a stretch where she lost three matches in like a 3 week period of time to three different women. Bea Priestley, Micah, I think was one of them, and I forget who the third was. But um, her argument is the business booming in stardom. So I will say this, and I'm trying to be fair. If Mercedes wins, PWI stayed true to their formula. If Saya wins, PWI stayed true to their formula. There's not a conspiracy. I think Mercedes should win, but there is a that's the point of why I went through the history of the list. That there are many years that the woman who finished second or third could have been first, and you could argue it. And I don't see any prevailing bias where it's like, well, this type of person never wins, right? A good example is last year, Tony Storm won. You know who was number two last year? Jordan Grace.
Hmm.
So WWE's top performer last year was Rhea. She was number three. Jordan Grace was number two, and she had no WWE work to get number two. It was all TNA. So um, I think Saya could win. Mercedes could win. Tony Storm could win because she won the biggest match against the one other person and she only lost 3 or 4 times herself. So like I could see it. They've never done a back they haven't had the same winner twice at all, let alone back to back over the last
So
12
what you're
years.
saying is based on their format, EO can't win.
Based on their format, I don't think anyone in WWE could win. Correct.
So how would Tony win over EO when EO beat Rhea and Bianca?
Because Tony beat Mariah May and Mercedes Moné. Um, but I don't think she held the belt long enough.
Mm.
So um, EO has a really, really spot on, unimpeachable case for top five. If they would have let her wrestle more when she was the champ, she might have had a better chance for it. Again, it goes to the calendar year. What hurts EO is in the fall of last year, she was losing in the Intercontinental title tournament to Lyra Valkyrie. And what kills Stephanie's case is she lost the match to Shotzi Blackheart in December or January of last year. She's the only one in the top six that lost a match to someone who won't finish in the top 100, maybe.
I'm sorry, that match does not exist. I can't find it anywhere. So, no, I know. I remember that match. It was with the roll up. But, and actually, Stephanie, I think, lost 2 matches in a row because she lost that match and then she lost to JC.
Ultimately, what hurts Stephanie the most is she didn't hold the title. If you add up title days, I think it would be Mercedes, Saya, runaway, obviously, with both of that. I think well, and then Tiffany is next, and then EO.
Yeah,
But Tiffany doesn't have nearly the quality EO has.
no, but I do think Tiffany, for being basically unbeaten that whole year, and when the calendar year ended, she was still unbeaten, like as a
No,
champ.
she was losing in the fall last year. Remember, she had the Money in the
No, 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 no,
Bank
no. But this, like,
briefcase.
yeah, this
Yeah,
year, she only lost yesterday, which the calendar is already done, right?
that is true. And there's a very good chance that Tiffany finishes as the top WWE performer.
Hmm. Yeah, and
I wouldn't put her there, but yeah.
I think based on what you have described, it's valid.
Yeah.
Based on what you're saying and how they do it, it's valid that Tiffany is there, but she wouldn't be, she would be mine. So Mercedes is, we think, is going to be number one. So this is going to be revealed
If
when?
Io would have beat Stephanie, that was in September, that would have been okay, she could win number one.
Oh, okay. I see. I
And
see.
if Tony would have if Tony would have held the belt through the finish line and not lost to Chris, I would say that Tony has as good of an argument for number one as anyone. I think Mercedes adding 4 belts, 5, 6 belts since she lost to Tony and winning a bunch of title defenses and stuff, and then Tony losing to Chris is ultimately. And then I think when they look at it in the Hazuki match, the 2 Chris matches, and all the women she wrestled, I think is what's good. That is the storyline of the year.
I
The
see. Yeah.
storyline of the year. Yeah.
So when does this get announced?
Tuesday, November 11th.
So next week.
Yeah, next week.
Okay. I feel pretty good that it's going to be Mercedes. One, she's never won it, so I think it's her time. Number two, I think it's deserved. I think she's put in the body of work for sure to deserve it. And number three, I think it's a cool visual to have her on the cover with all her belts. Like
Why
I,
wouldn't you do that?
you know,
Right.
like to me, I think from a visual marketing standpoint, it makes the most sense. So, um,
You just nailed something for me, by the way. She has not posted a picture of her with all 12 belts, and people are joking like, well, it's because she can't carry them anymore. But if they're saving that visual for a magazine shoot, that makes a lot of sense.
yeah, it does. So we are pretty much coming to the end this week of our show, and I don't know. I mean, what is on the horizon? So we have Blood and Guts in 2 weeks. We have War Games coming up at the end of this month. Io and Rhea are desperately needed to come back into the mix, but I think Kabuki Warriors against the Allies of Convenience is going to happen. And I think Io and Rhea are going to interfere in that match, and that's how we're going to get to War Games. Because I think War Games is going to be Charlotte, Alexa, Rhea, Io, Stephanie versus um, Jade, Naya, Lash, Asuka, Kyrie.
People are thinking Lash interferes for Nia in this Charlotte match coming up on Friday. So that
I
will be interesting to talk about. I would love that direction for Lash Legend. I think her and Nia together would be such an imposing looking team.
Yep.
Um, we got Willow, Harley, versus Mercedes Athena. I think that's going to be a very storyline driven match, not just around the tag titles. Charlotte Nia, like I said, I'm jumping around, but just thinking through. So it's kind of just it's a week of storyline setting. I think building towards War Games, building towards the Blood and Guts tag title tournament. What about for Bailey and Lyra? What do we what's next?
It's interesting. I don't know because I really like their story. It feels like they're going into a feud with Raquel and Roxanne.
Roxanne and Raquel are kind of in the Stephanie Nikki orbit though too, right?
That's true. They are. I don't know. I don't know what to do with Bailey and Lyra. They've been pretty entertaining. Becky doesn't really, after Maxine, have like direction. I guess it would be AJ. Honestly, like I need to see some more stuff with Julia.
I
Like
was just gonna say,
I
we don't even
really
get to talk about
need
her. She just holds
I,
that belt.
I just really need to see them do something with Julia. Open challenge, a feud. Um, I have a strange feeling her next feud is with Tiffany.
I don't think Jade needs to beat Tiffany again. We've seen that match a lot, and having her lose in 5 minutes because of a knee, I just don't think you need a double tap
I
there.
would keep Tiffany off TV for a while.
I would too.
I would keep Tiffany off TV.
No reason to do the knee if you're not going to have her off TV for at least a month. Okay. Well, everybody tuning in. Little granular on some details this week, but I think a lot of our listeners have been in the comments and in some of my mentions. PWI is on their mind. Um, and again, when someone asks me why should I care about this, I don't want to just be like, well, because, so I put some research into it, and I do think it's the best measurement we have. I wish it was a normal year though, because it'd be much easier to make these arguments. Because sometimes you got to be like, well, what happened in September and what happened in October? It'd be much easier if it was a regular calendar year, but nonetheless, appreciate everybody tuning in. Like Raj said at the beginning, on whatever medium you listen to us on, please make sure you subscribe and like. Uh, really appreciate all the YouTube comments last week. You guys were very happy with the episode. We're going to get back to interacting with you guys in the comments, but I saw a lot of good thoughts down there, and we do still read them. So thank you for that interaction. We appreciate it. Anything you want to add?
No, I know you got your team plays here in about 2 hours. I am I am football stress free this weekend. We'll see how things go. I'm going to be hate watching all of my NFC East opponents this week. I would like all of them to lose. Um, and I think there's a good chance that three can lose. So we'll see how that goes. I know you guys play Minnesota. Obviously, there's going to be Mahomes, Allen. That's weird, right? Because that's the only game on late. Like that's the actual only CBS game on. So they're trying to get it to the most audience. Washington, Seattle is intriguing for me. But next week we got a big game Monday night against the Packers, which I'm sure you'll be rooting for us because that only helps you guys.
Hell
Um,
yeah, I'm rooting for
and
you
then
guys.
following week, obviously we play. So yeah, it's gonna be interesting. I'm looking forward to fantasy football watching today, but there aren't too many good games, quite honestly. There's a lot of blowouts today, and I'm contemplating like, okay, maybe I don't watch the early slate, do some stuff, and then come back, but we'll see how things go. I'm a little exhausted from yesterday, which I will not want to talk about. So, um,
Nothing happened yesterday.
nothing. You know what? It's like, the Men in Black thing. It's like if this was the pen and they zapped me, that's what happened. So, on that note, we will see you guys next week, and we'll be back with a new top five.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.